Hello and welcome to the Discover History YouTube channel, and hopefully you can hear me as we're down on the river meadow where the River Team and the River Severn join. So we're at the confluence of the Team and the Severn. And a bit of advice, if you get a chance, do go for a walk, because it's nice to get around and see a battle. As Richard Holmes, the late Richard Holmes, said, you will only ever appreciate or understand a battle when you're on the actual ground that it was fought. And over here it hasn't changed too much. So what we've had so far this morning is the fight for Powick Church. That's on the high ground in the distance on the other bank of the River Team. And then we had the fighting down on Powick Bridge. And what you have to remember is William Keith is actually doing very well there. He's removed the central span. So very simply, no one can get across that bridge. And we know on the other side of the River Severn, Cromwell has come up really from the area of sort of Spetchley and Evesham area. He's come up and he can't go anywhere until Fleetwood and Dean has forced the crossing here. So Cromwell is probably getting a little bit impatient up there. But we're actually in the fields that are right on that intersection of the Severn and the Team. And this area was predominantly held by the Highlanders. So over there in the area of that hedge line would have been all the Highlanders grouped together really under the command of Pitscottie. But we have to remember they're not wearing kilts. They've definitely not got blue paint on their faces. They haven't got big round shields in wielding the two-handed broadswords. These are Scotsmen fighting, predominantly wearing lowland grey coats, bonnets and breeches, and predominantly carrying the pike and musket, because that's what they are. So they're occupying this field, and like I said in an earlier video, apart from Keith's men fighting at the church and over at Powick Bridge, Pitscottie's Islanders think they have an easy battle, because no one is going to cross the mighty River Severn behind Ian there, and no one's going to cross the River Team to their front there. So they're quite happy. However, by mid-morning, late morning, starting to get into lunchtime, Cromwell had moved some guns up onto Buns Hill. To be fair, they were probably there the night before the fight. So whilst the Highlanders were down here in their little cosy part of the battlefield, they suddenly realised that the guns could reach them from the other side of the Severn. So very simply, the Scots were starting to take casualties. In a way, it probably kept them away from the river bank. So they probably huddled together as far as they could get from the Severn and from the Team, which was good because that allowed the parliamentarians to bring forward a secret weapon, that being a bridge of boat. In fact, 2 boat bridges. And we know they were thrown across the Severn and the Team, making the Severn and the Team now invisible obstacles. Now some people say, well, surely the Scots would have seen those boat bridges being built. Probably not. If you're getting shot at from the far banks, and the fact that you've got late summer brambles, late summer stinging nettles, a huge amount of vegetation on the riverbank, you probably can't see what's going on at the bottom. So very simply, what actually happened was we have Dean and Fleetwood coming up to the riverbank on the Team, and they're being held by Keith and Pitscottie, Cromwell on the other side getting very annoyed, and then these bridge of boats are thrown in. When these boat bridges are thrown in, Pitscottie suddenly notices new model army, mainly cavalry, coming across the river, and they would have absolutely panicked. They thought they were quite happy here without any bridge, that they would be able to live out the battle in relatively peace and safety down here. Fighting's all going on at Powick Bridge with William Keith taking on Dean. However, the boat bridges would have appeared, one across the Severn down here, some point along here, just to there, and the Pitscottie's Highlanders would have seen this cavalry coming up the bank through the vegetation and galloping across that field into the pikemen and musketeers of Pittscottish Highlanders. And then likewise another broke bridge would have appeared here, within pistol shot it was said. So probably around about here where the River Severn and the team meet. So the poor Highlanders stood here, suddenly saw that they were getting cavalry and infantry pouring across the Severn on their left flank and across to their front. And they have only one thing they can do, and that is flee for their lives. And if you read about the battle, all the accounts state that they fought a retreat. They fled hedge by hedge. And therefore they would have fought their way back to one line of hedges, hoping that the cavalry would not be able to cut them down. Then they would have fled to the next hedge, and their only place where they're heading is back to the city of Worcester. Poor old William Keith over on Powick Bridge, he would have no knowledge of this until it was too late. And you will read or see that in the next video, because the next video will take us back to Powick Bridge, and you will see how William Keith reacts to the parliamentarians putting these boat bridges in and wiping out the Highlanders, or cutting off the Highlanders and cutting them down in their retreat back to Worcester. Anyway, on that note, stay safe, keep up to date, and we'll see you soon. Bye bye.